Did God approve polygamy? What the Bible actually says, the dilemma of polygamy. A biblical mystery, polygamy. A word that stirs up theological debates, cultural discussions, and historical analysis. Some defend it, citing biblical figures who had multiple wives, while others reject it as an outdated practice that contradicts God's true design for marriage. But did God approve of polygamy, or did he merely tolerate it? The answer is more complex than a simple yes or no. Let's journey back to the ancient world, where kings, patriarchs, and ordinary men took multiple wives. Was this divine will or human deviation? Buckle up, because this is going to be a fascinating ride. The first marriage, a divine blueprint to understand polygamy. We must first examine God's original intent for marriage. In Genesis 2:24, God established the foundation of marital union. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Notice the singular, his wife, not wives. This verse implies monogamy, a one-man, one-woman covenant. Adam had only one wife, Eve, and together they reflected God's perfect design. But if monogamy was the divine ideal, how did polygamy enter the scene? The first polygamist. A distorted legacy. Enter Lamech, a descendant of Cain, mentioned in Genesis 4:19. He is the first recorded polygamist. Then Lamech took for himself 2 wives. The name of one was Ada, and the name of the second was Zillah. Interestingly, Lamech was also a violent man, boasting about killing someone in retaliation. Genesis 4:23-24. The Bible subtly suggests that polygamy entered the world alongside moral corruption and sin. But it doesn't stop there. The patriarchs and their multiple wives, Abraham, the father of faith, had Sarah. But when Sarah doubted God's promise of a son, she suggested that Abraham take Hagar, her maidservant, as a second wife. Genesis 16:1-4. The result, family strife, jealousy, and eventual exile for Hagar and her son Ishmael. Jacob, Abraham's grandson, had 2 wives, Leah and Rachel, plus their maidservants Bilhah and Zilpah. Genesis 29:21-30. His household was filled with competition and heartache, with his wives vying for his love and producing a total of 12 sons, the future tribes of Israel. King David, a man after God's own heart, 1 Samuel 13:14, had multiple wives, yet his polygamous lifestyle contributed to immense family turmoil, including rape, murder, and rebellion among his children. 2 Samuel 13-18. And then there was Solomon, the wisest king who ever lived, until his many wives led him into idolatry. 1 Kings 11:3-4 reveals the tragic downfall. He had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned his heart away from God. Clearly, polygamy did not produce harmony. It led to heartbreak, division, and spiritual downfall. But the burning question remains: did God approve of it? Divine tolerance versus divine approval. Throughout the Old Testament, God never explicitly commands polygamy. However, he does regulate it. In Deuteronomy 17:17, God warns Israelite kings, "Neither shall he multiply wives for himself, lest his heart I turn away." This verse suggests that polygamy was allowed but not endorsed. Similarly, in Exodus 21:10, laws are given to protect the rights of additional wives, implying that God sought to regulate human customs rather than promote them. The fact that God allowed polygamous men to lead his people doesn't mean he approved of the practice. Rather, he worked through their imperfections, just as he works through ours today. The New Testament. a return to God's ideal. By the time we reach the New Testament, the tone shifts dramatically. Jesus, when asked about divorce, reaffirms God's original design for marriage. Have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, "For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh"? Matthew 19:4-5. Here, Jesus directly quotes Genesis, emphasizing monogamy. The Apostle Paul echoes this in 1 Timothy 3:2, stating that a church leader must be the husband of one wife. The New Testament consistently upholds monogamy as the standard for Christian marriage. The verdict: a case of divine patience. So, did God approve polygamy? The evidence suggests that he permitted it in ancient times due to cultural and social realities, but never endorsed it as his ideal. Instead, he progressively led his people back to the original plan: one man, one woman, in a covenant of love and unity. Polygamy in the Bible serves as a cautionary tale rather than a divine command. The stories of Abraham, Jacob, David, and Solomon all illustrate the complications and sorrows it brought. As history unfolded, God's people moved closer to his perfect design, with the New Testament reaffirming monogamy. Today, in a world still wrestling with the concept of marriage, the Bible's message remains clear: God's best